Hey guys, it's Sensuki and welcome to Sensuki's Pillars of Eternity Beta Version Review version 333. Before I go into my version review, I'm just going to comment on some feedback in my recent videos. There's been quite a few people that have requested that rather than just sitting in the main menu talking about the things that are happening that I think are about the game, I should actually showcase them in the game. So that's what I'm going to do this time when I'm doing my version review. The next thing that I'm going to look into is editing my videos. Currently I just record and upload straight to YouTube. But that does mean that my videos can take longer than they should, because if I edited them I could cut the sections down and just show short clips of me showcasing things in the game and then talk over the top of them. So I'm going to look into doing that, but I don't have time to do that for this video because the next patch is coming out in 8 days as of me recording this video, and I don't reckon I'll have enough time to learn how to use editing software and make videos in that time, considering I've got other stuff that I need to be doing as well. So I'm going to also change the video format for this review. I'm going to start out with positive changes first, followed by controversial ones, detrimental ones, new bugs, and then just do a general section called main issues. I'm not going to release detailed videos with all of the things that I think are wrong with the various sections of the game. And with this version review, I'm going to release them separately at some later time, maybe later this week or the week after. And I'm hopefully going to be able to edit them as well. So I thought I'd just get the version review out first, and then look into editing the other videos later on so that they're easier to watch. Because I noticed by checking in YouTube stats that most people only watch the videos for about 8 minutes or something like that. So if I can make the videos easier to watch, I'm going to do that. Okay, so now for my version review. Version 333 is a good update, and it has lots of new UI features. It adds more polish to the game, has some visual changes, introduces a few new bugs, mostly minor and should be pretty easily fixable. They're also pretty obvious as well. The game difficulty is now a lot harder. Josh has been doing his doubling and halving trick, so in the previous version the game became a lot easier because various enemies were nerfed pretty hard. Now Josh has added about plus 50 to deflection to all the enemies, and now fights are a lot harder. And I think that the increased difficulty in this version is a good thing because it helps showcase the issues with combat a lot easier than the previous versions did, because now just a short fight on hard against some humanoid enemies requires about 20 to 25 pauses minimum, and that's me having put 70 plus hours into the in-game testing already, and I'm not the best player, but I'm not the worst either, so, you know, I'd say I'm pretty good at the game. And if I have to pause the game 20 to 25 times in a short fight like that, there's problems. So it's good to be able to make videos and showcase the issues there, and it helps identify what those problems are, so it's good that this patch is harder. Okay, so I'm going to start a new game, and I'm going to showcase the changes made to the character creation. Now, one of the things that they've added in is... So I don't know if you guys saw that, but there's now new loading screens. I'm sure you'll get a glimpse of those at some time in the video, but because my video doesn't record the game when the frames haven't changed, then it won't actually show it. Okay, so there's like a little bug where one of the hair pieces is missing on characters, so I'm just going to go through and create a character. Okay, yep. Okay, so the first change now at level 1 is you get to pick your class ability. So I've got two choices here, Knockdown and Armored Grace, and I can pick one of those. Now, I'm going to choose Armored Grace here, and the reason is because it pretty much gives you a free 18 dexterity, so I'm just going to assign some stats. Doesn't really matter what they are because I'm not going to be testing the game. Yep, whatever. Okay, yep, whatever. The first thing I wanted to showcase is the new talent system. Okay, so I'm going to level up my character to level 2. So here you can see that there are now a lot more talents than there were before. Obsidian have said that they've added in about 100 of them, which is really good. But they've made some changes to it, and I'm going to detail those changes a bit later. So I'm going to just exit out of this for now. And I'll show that a bit later. The first thing I wanted to showcase is the new glossary and hyperlink system. So if I go into the character creation screen, you can see that there are now the text here is now highlighted. So as you can see here, I can click on might and it brings up a description of might. It brings up a description of everything. So everything that's red, you can click on it, brings up a description for it, and the red text here is also a mouse over. So if I mouse over damage, it brings up a text displaying how damage works in Pillars of Eternity. Now this doesn't happen on everything. Oh yeah, it works for those as well. So mouse over will, and it explain it. I think that one's broken. It's definitely working for this one though, so that might have just been a test. Yeah, so it hasn't been implemented on any of those. You can see how that highlights up when you mouse over it. So that's not obviously not finished yet, but anyway, let's see if it works over here. No. I'll go to the glossary screen. Now the menu is no longer full screen at 720p. They've changed it to add in this little bar here down the bottom so you can change menus. So if I go into the journal and click glossary, there's a new glossary that explains how all of the afflictions work, all of the character stats, all of the combat mechanics, and how equipment works as well. So that the addition of the glossary and hyperlink glossary system is really good, and it will help bridge the gap between new players understanding how the rules works and the people who've been following the Kickstarter from the start, like myself. I pretty much know how most things work. The next thing I wanted to showcase is the stealth UI. Now I just wanted to warn people watching this video that it actually has a small bug, but I'll just point that out in a second. Alright, so I'm going to move my characters over here. I'm going to go into stealth. Now you can see that the characters are see-through. There's a new shader that makes them see-through, and there's no like horrible green circle under their feet. So as I move closer to these enemies here, you can see that there's yellow circles followed by red. Red means you've been spotted, and I think yellow means you've been seen, or like you have to get out of there before you've been seen or whatever. See how it's gone back from red to yellow, and then it'll probably go back to normal. So that just gives you a bit of a warning, like if you don't get out of the way now, you're going to be spotted by those people. So that's how it works. So I think the stealth user face is pretty much close to perfect now, so that's really good. But anyway, the one bug with it is when you come out of stealth, some characters don't come out of the combat stance. As you can see, the priest hasn't properly gone back into idle. So that's one bug. I've already reported it. Pretty sure the devs will be aware of it anyway. The next thing I wanted to show is targeting reticules. So now, if I issue my dwarf character here to attack somebody like that, so I pause the game, I have the dwarf selected. You can see that there's now a targeting reticule over the character. However, when I mouse over them, the targeting reticule should still stay there, so I'm actually going to have to write that down as a bug. But anyway, when the character is not selected, you can't see anything, but when they're moused over or selected, you can see the targeting reticule. So that's really good. That's something I specifically requested they add in. I'm not sure if they were going to add it in before that or not, but anyway, it made it into the game, and it's not quite implemented properly, but it's pretty much 75% working correctly. So there's one thing, like when you mouse over somebody that has the targeting reticle on them, the targeting reticle should still stay there, but that's not currently implemented properly, so I'm going to have to report that. And the second thing is that the triangles don't, in the Infinity Engine games, the triangles don't go in at the same time. The side and the top ones, they both go in at different times. I'll probably make a video showcasing about that. That's just a minor quibble. And the other thing is, for area of effect targeting stuff, if I go to cast a fireball on them, you can see how the targeting doesn't quite, like, it's really weird. Like, it doesn't go into the middle. It's really fast and just jitters and all that kind of stuff. I'm not exactly sure if that's intended, but that definitely doesn't look right. So that's the new targeting reticle system, and that's a big step in the right direction for combat clarity. So I'm really happy that they made it in. Now, I've shown the talents. The next thing I wanted to talk about is visual clarity. So in the last patch, Obsidian changed the filtering system. And what I mean by that is it's like it determines the sharpness and all that kind of stuff of what characters and background and the actual 2D image of the background looks like. So in the last version it was really sharp. When you zoomed out it looked really gnarly, but I think they've either reverted it back to the v333 version or they've slightly changed what it looks like. I'm pretty sure characters look a little bit different to how they did in 278, but they've definitely either reverted it back to how it was or they've changed it, and it does look a lot better. So, like, when you zoom out properly, I think it looks about right now. maybe some small tweaks to it, and it will, you know, look pretty good. Another change that they've made is Dimitri's changed the weapons on characters' backs are now in the right place for two-handed weapons. So as you can see, the bow used to sit right up here on the Orlan's shoulder, but now it actually sits in the middle of her back. If I move the Morningstar, actually I only have to change. Sorry, I'll just swap weapons here with the priest. So you can see the Morningstar is now in the correct position on the character's back, instead of being in some weird spot. And the fighter, the Arbalest, is in the same place. So that's another good thing that's been added in. There is now action bar hotkeys, so you can actually use the QWERTY keys to assign to items on the action bar. So I'll do it with the wizard. So okay, so let's say I want Q to be middle letters minor middle letters minor missiles. So what I have to do is I mouse over the ability and press Q. You can see it's been assigned Q. And now say that I want that one to be WER, and it adds a new action bar slot over here for the actual abilities, and then you can press Q and you can target them and see how it's actually I'll use it's E, so I've got E and I can move it around like that. So that's really good. And to unassign them, I think you have to go back to the spell and you've got to press the same button that's assigned to it to unassign them. You can't actually overwrite them at the moment, but you can do that. You can now shift Q. So if I want to shift Q waypoints, I can move there and then shift Q there as well, and it comes up at a delay. So I've made some waypoints there. You can see my character's moving around following my shift Q, and that also works for actions on the hotkeys as well. You can shift Q attacks and all that kind of stuff. You can like attack somebody and then shift Q a knockdown for the next action. So that's really good. Makes the game play a little bit more like an RTS, and it doesn't involve the stupid like action queue system from Dragon Age and Knights of the Old Republic 2, where they have that action bar and you've got to queue up and remove actions and all that kind of stuff. That was a really horrible implementation, but anyway, they've done it properly, so that's good. You can also control select units, which you couldn't do before, so I can hold down control and select all my units, and I think I can unselect them as well. Yeah, so that's how it worked in Infinity Engine games. For some reason, it won't unselect all of them though. Yeah, so that's I might actually report that as a bug. So it's not letting me unselect the last one. I have to have one selected for some reason. Oh well, it's not a big deal. The next thing is that there is an improved stash UI. So if I press the stash now, you can see that the screen is a lot bigger, and it has different sections for different types of items. Quest items has been moved into here, as you can see there, and the icon from the inventory has been moved, so that's good. The stash button probably doesn't need to necessarily be there. You could probably move it onto this panel here or something like that. Anyway, you could free up that space, definitely. I still think Obsidian need to look at Hallmark's inventory UI design, because it is vastly superior to what they've got here. But anyway, that's a topic for another conversation. The next improvement is you can now change character colors in the inventory. When you click the color picker, it opens up a menu over the top of the character portrait, and you can change their color. The only thing, there's like a small bug with it where it doesn't actually update until you go back into the inventory screen. So you can see now the color of my character's pants have changed, but it was only when I update the inventory screen again. I've already reported that as a bug. I'm pretty sure they would have known about it, so yeah, that's really good. There's a lot more items in the game, icons in the game now. So you look at all these priest spells, see how they've all got icons, every single one. And I think all the wizard spells now have icons as well. Items all have new icons. You can see everything here now has an icon except for that, but you know, there's armor icons now. It's different cloth icons there. Approved all those. Yep. Now, I could summon in some items to show all the different icons there are, but there are a lot of them. It's like the main, probably 2D asset thing that they've been working on. There's heaps of icons. Pretty much for all of the level 1 to 3 or whatever abilities. Maybe it's 1 to 5, I'm not sure, but pretty much everything has an icon now, which is really good. All the stuff in the beta anyway. They've removed the annoying UI click sound. I can showcase that in a second. I've just got to enable the effects volume. This is one of the things I wanted to bring up, that effects currently controls pretty much the game sound. So it's pretty much akin to master volume, except it doesn't control the music. they really need to split this into multiple options, because like if I want to turn off the environmental effects, and I can't actually do that because it's all tied to this one effects volume. So I'll turn the effects volumes back on. You can hear that made a click sound. Okay, so now when I open stuff like the inventory and I press close, there's no annoying click sound anymore. It's actually, there's a new open character sheet and a new open inventory sound thing as well. So I've added some new sounds. So let's say I wanted to open the area map. So yeah, the sound from that's gone. When I open this menu here though, and I press that X, there's no sound. What it used to be was this really annoying UI double click sound or whatever, and they've removed it. I think I would have been one of the only people. There's a couple of people that complained about it, so I'm glad they're listening to us there, because that was really annoying. So they got rid of that, which is really good. Now they've changed engagement arrows so that they only show on mouse over or selection, like the engagement arrows. So I think I'll showcase that, but I'll do it later. So I'll do that as my last thing that I want to showcase. Because it requires me to get into combat, so I'll do that last. Delay on moving items in the inventory has been fixed, so like I can move that around at a lightning speed now. But the only thing is the 3D display of it lags significantly behind, so I can move that like really quickly around in the inventory. That was one of the things I was complaining about, and that's been fixed, so that's really good. The only thing is, like, I think Unity has a problem with 3D display, because in Shadowrun Returns and Wasteland 2 and Pillars of Eternity, like, there's significant lag with changing stuff like 3D. See how that's the 3D character model, and there's a noticeable delay to when I put the equip the item and when it shows on the character. And Shadowrun Returns and Wasteland 2 both have lag problems like that even after they've been released. So I don't know if Obsidian will actually be able to fix that or not, but I hope they do. Another thing that I'll probably show a bit later is that interrupt rolls are now shown in the combat log. So when your character scores an interrupt on a unit, it is now shown in here. So what I might do, actually, when I showcase the combat stuff, I'll attack this guard and I'll try and showcase interrupts and stuff like that. The game now has 4:3 support, so if you want to play at 1280 by 1024, you can now do that. The game supports 4:3 resolutions now. I don't know if it supports heaps of them, but it does. I know it supports like 1024 by 768, 1280 by 1024, and various 16:10 resolutions. But I'm not sure if you can play it like 1600 by 1200 or like 19, like one of the larger resolutions. But it definitely supports the lower resolutions. Yeah, like 1280 by 1024. I'm not sure about 1600 by 1200. I'd have to check. And yeah, that's about it for new things. Now I'll showcase what happens in combat with engagement and interrupts. So if I attack this guard. Okay, so now as you can see, when I don't have the character selected, there's no engagement arrows. When I do, you can see the engagement arrows on the character and the targeting reticle. So I'll see if I can showcase an interrupt here. No. I'll see if I can proc one. That character's about to get killed. Some issues in the combat log here with 720p. It's not actually showing. I haven't seen any interrupts yet. But anyway, when an interrupt occurs, it's actually shown in the combat log and it shows the roll and everything. For some reason, it's not working at the moment, so I'll see if I can get one to work. Come on. Nah, doesn't look like it wants to. That guy must have a really high concentration. Well, anyway, that didn't work out very well. Oh, the stuff that guy has. He didn't. Yeah, that's another problem. He clearly had armor and weapons equipped, but he hasn't dropped them. So you know they have to work on that. And this is what happens when characters are killed while moused over or selected or whatever. The targeting reticles persist. So this character was like selected when he killed that enemy, and his targeting reticle is persisted. So that's a new bug. Anyway, so I'll just load the game. Or load a game. I'll load this one. See the new. Hopefully you saw the new loading screen there. Okay, what's happened here? Oh right, this is after I killed Medress group. Okay, so now that was showcasing the positive features of v333. There's a couple of controversial ones. Oh, sorry, there is a few more things that they've added in actually. Persistence issues with combat have been fixed. So like when you are in combat and say you're losing and you quit the game and then you load your previous save. In the previous version, the enemies that you were attacking would be still hostile when you've loaded the game, and that would screw up your save game. So they fixed that, so that's really good. The issues with area transitions is something. Oh yeah, range for perception works properly. So previously, this combat stat here wasn't actually being affected by perception. Now it is. Traps now work properly, and there was a bug in, I think it was either V2, it might have even been way back to v257, where characters was on, when you loaded the game, or saved game and reloaded it, enemies would change, like they would lose their DT. You can see in the inventory here, their DT would change to 0, so they fixed that as well. So now that no longer happens, and in the last patch, if I just open the inventory again, the weapon damage didn't actually work properly. So as you can see there, it shows the slash damage against deflection and all that kind of stuff. It shows, it displays it properly. It's got the actual, the base, and then the attack it's against. So they've improved that as well. So now I wanted to move on to the controversial features. Okay, so the first one I wanted to mention is that if I go into the options menu, I go to game, this restriction of the stash is now a game option. So in version 301 they changed the stash to be accessible anywhere. So I can put an item in the stash and I can move it back into the inventory, and I'm not at a set location. So that's now a game option. However, the thing is that kind of makes the personal inventory of characters superfluous, because if you've got an unlimited stash and you can access it anywhere, why do you need a per character inventory? I think that making it a game option is a bit of a cop-out, because I think it's like, okay, we're sick of dealing with people who, there's obviously a split between the crowd of people that want like real easy inventory management and people that aren't interested in strategical resource inventory management, like having to access the stash only at set locations that you have to pay to access. So like, inns and camping supplies and all that kind of stuff. I just think that they should just improve the inventory rather than making it an option. So like, I don't think the inventory UI is as good as it could be. When the stash is actually open everywhere, it makes the inventory a lot easier to use. So I've gotten a bit more used to using the inventory now. I still think the portraits should be on the right side rather than the left, and they should make changes to the UI and all that kind of stuff. Like they could move per character inventory down there and have different tabs and all that kind of stuff. There's lots of things they could do with it, but I just don't think that changing the stash to an option is good, because it doesn't address the problem with the inventory design not quite being right. So that's just my opinion anyway. I don't know if everyone will necessarily agree with that, but I still don't think it's good enough. The next controversial thing that I wanted to showcase is it happens with area transitions. So what they've done is they've improved area transitions. So if I go into I'll go into the inn. Just have to run there. Okay, so, well, actually, here will do. Okay, so, now previously, you can see how that area transition happened. See how that area transition occurred as soon as I pressed the button on the actual inventory, on the transition icon. I was like, half the street away from the door, and I started changing levels pretty much instantly to when I clicked it. So I'll do it again here. So like it's triggering from a very far distance away. See how it was like half occurred. So I think closer to the door. So when the people at the front of the so when the people are I still think the transition needs to be improved a little bit because it triggers from so far away. So I think they should make it that when the people at the front of the transition are like right up against the door, that's when it should occur. But I think that they like black out the screen and do all that kind of stuff because it takes a while to load the area. So I still don't think it's right, but I think they fixed the issues of when you had like animal companions and stuff and transitions weren't working properly, because it used to be that the characters had to walk to a set position on the ground to be able to go to the transition. I think they've made it distance based now. There is a bug when you have multiple rangers in your party and you exit a building, the units in the back transitions get stuck in the door. I don't have any saves that have multiple ranges, so that would take me a bit of time to showcase, so I'm just going to tell you about it. So like what happens here, when I go into the inn, hire a ranger, and I've got say 2 or 3 rangers in the party, when I exit the inn, they're all stuck in the building, like they're all behind the wall, and because they're not on the nav mesh, they can't actually move anywhere. So that's one thing they have to improve about the area transition things as well. The next controversial thing I wanted to mention is the fog of war. So I have to move into the default crossing to show that off. So in the patch notes, they said that they've changed fog of war to be line of sight only. It is actually working inside the inn. You know how there's that fireplace in the middle of the inn, and in previous versions you can see over the top of the fireplace the other side. You can't do that now. It actually works properly. And what they've done is they have a fog map file for each area, which is located in the game files. I just think they probably need to tweak the individual fog maps to make them perfect. So I'm going to change areas here. Loading screen. Okay, so now I'll probably have to fight a beetle or two here, because there's not really any way I can get past these monsters. So, but anyway, what happens is like if I go around the side of the tree here, I can see around it. Nah. Trigger the beetle, I'll have to kill it. Come here, bitch. Okay. I'll go into stealth and I'll see if I can avoid the beetles. Oh, hey, why are they not in their shader? That doesn't make sense. Alright, so now obviously you can see there's a wall here, right? And I shouldn't be able to see through it. See that? I can see right through the wall. So obviously, like it happens in this area in many places, but obviously, you know, fog of war is not line of sight, because if it was, I shouldn't be able to see through that wall. So they have made changes to it, and it is working in some instances, but it's definitely not working everywhere. It's definitely still buggy, and I think they just have to modify the fog maps themselves or something like that. But anyway, they've made a change to the system. It has made it a little bit better, but yeah, as you can see, you can still see through geometry with no nav mesh. Actually, I don't think there is an area with no nav mesh there, because my mouse isn't changing cursors. So that might be why it's occurring, I'm not sure. Anyway, as you can see, that's not working properly. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is the changes to advancement. So I have to go back into the main menu for that. So I'll just quit out of the game. Oh yeah, this is another bug. So I think it's broken. It's broken starting a new game. Oh, well that's a shame. So I'm going to have to quit out of the game to be able to talk about that. So sorry about that, I'm just going to have to talk. Okay, so the issue with character advancement is that now you get a choice of your class abilities. And just make sure that's still working. I think it is. I can't actually click anything now, which is a shame. Hopefully the video is still working. So this is a new bug in the current version, which is annoying. Hopefully they'll fix it the next one. So character advancement. Now you get to choose your class abilities. Instead of them being set, you get like a new one each level in a set order. Now you get to pick them. However, you only get them at first level and then every second level after that. So you get less class abilities overall, which kind of makes classes weaker than enemies now. Weaker than monsters and stuff like that. And it also creates situations where it makes some of the attributes a bit redundant. So One of the things you can do is you can make a more passive character. Now, passive characters don't rely on durations. If you don't have any active abilities, you don't need any durations. So if you create a passive fighter, you do not need resolve at all, really. Sure, the concentration does affect your character, but in version 2.7.8 you didn't need it. You just dump resolve right down to 3. It didn't really make much difference at all. So if you create a passive fighter, you don't need resolve, and you can just dump that attribute down to 3 at pretty much no detriment to your character whatsoever, and you can just pump constitution, might, dexterity and perception for maximum damage per second. So that's one controversial change, that the change to the advancement system. It makes like dumping attributes possible. It makes trap choices and all that kind of stuff. It fucks around with how the system previously works. I don't know if having picking an ability every second level after first is a good idea. I think that there should be. You still get an ability each level, but there are more than 12 abilities per class. So when your character's finished, there's still a few abilities left over that you haven't picked, but you still got, you still have a few actives, and you have a lot of passives and modals and all that kind of stuff. You get to choose, but characters don't end up being the same by the end of the game. So I think that would be better. And I think the current version actually gives you get less stuff, but you get to pick what you get. So I don't actually think it's better. It's a little bit better, but it also reduces character efficacy, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's quite the right change. Another thing is the game runs at about 20 to 30 FPS worse than it did before. I used to get 90 FPS when the Obsidian logo was playing. Now I get 70. I used to get 90 FPS in the Deerford Village, and now I get 70 to 60, somewhere around there. I'm not even going to bother going into the Deerford Ruins or Liara Man. I'm just not going to be able to run the levels properly, because previously I've got 20 to 30 FPS. Can't imagine what it'll be now. There's just no point going into those levels. They've made some changes to the experience system. I am not wholly against it, but I really don't like lock and trap XP. I think that is a really lazy implementation of experience, and they're just putting it in there to try and shut the people that are complaining about experience up. I really actually think they need to think through what they're doing. My last suggestion focused on... Sorry, my 26th suggestion focused on XP rewards. So if you want to know what I think about XP rewards, you can just watch my suggestion. It'll be in the links in the thread. And they've also made some changes to how skills work. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to quit the game to be able to show those. So what I might do is I'll cut the video here, and then I'll create a new video with the new bugs and main issues, and then the first thing I'll do is I'll showcase the skill changes, because obviously my game's bugged out. Alright guys, I'll bring in the new video shortly.